Every year, like clockwork, my wife packed her favorite oversized backpack, kissed me on the cheek, and vanished into the woods for the annual Women's Wilderness Retreat. Supposedly, it was a tradition with her college girlfriends, rustic bonding, yoga by the lake, no phones, no men, no drama. At first, I didn't question it. I mean, who questions hiking and meditation with a bunch of crunchy granola types? She always came back smelling like campfire smoke and lavender oil, with stories about midnight ghost tales and how Cheryl burned the lentils. Nothing too suspicious, just long showers and a new appreciation for silence. But this year something felt off. She came home with a limp. I asked what happened, and without missing a beat, she laughed and said, "Tripped on a root, landed on a branch, got a little scratched up." Scratch my ass. A few days later, I caught a glimpse of it when she stepped out of the shower. It wasn't a scratch. It was a scar, fresh, angry, and jagged, curving around her hip bone like a twisted question mark. Way too precise for a branch. And her tan? Suspiciously even, like she hadn't worn a sports bra for a single day in the woods. Still, I kept my mouth shut. That's the first thing you learn when you think your spouse might be cheating. Don't confront. Observe. Document. Plan. So I played the supportive husband. Asked about Cheryl. Asked about lentils. She filled in the blanks like usual, but this time her stories had potholes. Big ones. Like how she said Karen brought her dog, except Karen's allergic. Or how they all stayed in tents, except one moment later. She said they slept in a lakeside cabin. It was like listening to a poorly rehearsed high school play. Then came the garage. We'd been married 13 years, and I knew every square inch of that garage. Every tool, every forgotten box, every bike tire that had been flat since 2019. But one Sunday while she was out grocery shopping, I went in to grab the ladder and caught a strange whiff, smoke and cologne. And there, behind the bins of Christmas decorations and dead tennis rackets, was a second tent. It was neatly packed, brand new, and not the same faded green one she always took on the trips. I opened it. Inside were 2 sleeping bags, zipped together, a few empty packets of trail mix, and a single lighter with T+M scratched into the metal casing. We don't know any M's. I zipped it all back up, put everything precisely where it was, and went back inside. At dinner, I asked, "Hey, did you end up using our old tent this year? Or did you borrow a new one?" She didn't look up from her plate. Same old one. Leaky zipper and all. That was the exact moment I decided she'd never lie to me again. Not because I'd confront her. No, because I was going to expose her so publicly, so precisely, that she'd never know how I found out. The plan started simple. I pretended nothing was wrong. In fact, I acted better than usual, more affectionate, more helpful, more husband of the year. I needed her off balance. I needed her relaxed, comfortable, because what I was planning, it needed silence. It needed precision. It needed revenge with an audience. And what better excuse than our upcoming anniversary? We were coming up on 15 years. Big milestone. Normally, we'd go to dinner or maybe spend a night in a bed and breakfast. This year, I told her I wanted to do something new. Like what? She asked, raising an eyebrow. A hiking trip, I said, trying not to smirk. You? Hiking? Since when do you like the outdoors? I thought we could celebrate what you love, not just what I love. Besides, I've been thinking about getting into it. She smiled, a little too wide. That's sweet, she said, setting her wine glass down. But I thought hiking was our girl thing. Gotcha. I shrugged. Why not share it with friends too? What if we invited a few couples? Made it a group thing. I could plan it all. She hesitated. That might be complicated. Why? She fumbled. Logistics. Campgrounds get crowded. It might be hard to get spots. Already checked, I said cheerfully. Found a perfect trail not far from the one you all use. Same general woods. Gorgeous view. I'll send you the link. Her face went pale, for just a second. Then she nodded. Sounds great. Step 1, complete. What she didn't know was that I had already driven out there the week before. I'd gone to that exact spot where she said the retreat happened. No cabins, just trees, and a few beer cans, and some very distinct tire tracks. I walked the loop, looked for campsites, and finally found one with a clearing that had the ashes of a recently used fire pit. And on the edge of the pit, a half-buried camping mug that said "Best stepbro ever." Now, I don't have a stepbrother, but she used to. He was a ghost name from her past. Someone she claimed she cut off years ago because he was toxic and manipulative. When I asked about him early in our marriage, she changed the subject. When I found an old yearbook photo once, she said he moved to Europe. Guess he moved back. I didn't touch the mug. I took a picture and left it exactly where it was. Then I called a friend who owned a drone. I need you to help me set a trap, I told him. He laughed. Hunting season already? Something like that, I said. But we're not catching deer. We're catching something way more dangerous. Let me guess, he said. A cheating wife. I didn't answer, just smiled. Let her enjoy the calm before the storm. Because next anniversary, I wasn't bringing roses. I was bringing proof. The week leading up to the anniversary hike was a masterclass in manipulation on my part, of course. I was all smiles and surprises, coordinating with our couple friends like I was organizing a damn wedding. I told them we were doing something different, rustic, and symbolic this year. Said we were reconnecting with nature. That it was Virginia's idea. That was the best part. She couldn't object without outing herself. I watched her pack for the trip like she was going to her own funeral. Normally, she'd double-check her gear, fold everything like a Tetris master, toss in that old patch-covered water bottle she loved. But this time, she was sluggish, distracted. She kept glancing at her phone like it held a countdown timer. Once, I caught her opening and closing our garage door 3 times in 15 minutes, probably trying to figure out if I'd found the tent. I had, sweetheart, and I found a lot more than that. She didn't know that the drone wasn't just for cute aerial shots. It had been flying loops out there during her last retreat, snapping a series of high-res, time-stamped photos. My buddy, Kevin, owed me big time for helping him bury a secret bachelor party years ago. This was payback, and oh, did he deliver. One photo in particular made my blood run cold. Her, kneeling by a fire, laughing, hair tied back, and next to her, a man in a flannel jacket with his hand on her lower back. Zoomed in, I could see his face. Clean-shaven, strong jawline, eyes way too close together. And that stupid little tattoo behind his ear. A compass rose. That detail unlocked something. Years ago, Virginia once said her stepbrother got this ugly compass thing when he dropped out of community college. Called it his permanent poor decision. Guess he made another one by coming back into our lives. I didn't confront her. Not yet. That would have been too easy. Too small. No, I wanted her squirming. I wanted her terrified, uncertain, second-guessing every move. So I kissed her forehead, made a cheesy wilderness or bust playlist, and drove our SUV full of tents, marshmallows, and lies. We met up with 3 other couples from our friend group at a gas station just outside the state park. I gave everyone printed trail maps, laminated, even, and color-coded their 10 assignments like I was some overachieving Eagle Scout. I'd picked a spot just a 15-minute hike from where I'd found the mug. Close enough for dramatic effect. Remote enough for privacy. Virginia looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes darted from person to person like she was waiting for someone to yell, "Gotcha!" and pull out a camera crew. I watched her rehearse her reactions in real time. Too bad the real show hadn't even started yet. Night 1 went off without a hitch. We roasted marshmallows. Shared old stories. Someone brought wine in a camelback. I made a joke about how camping made you appreciate hot showers and indoor plumbing. Everyone laughed. Everyone except Virginia. She kept glancing toward the woods like something out there was watching her. And it was just not what she thought. The next morning, I sprung the surprise. "We're doing a photo challenge today," I said, grinning like a maniac. "Couples have to find 5 unique landmarks on this trail loop and take selfies. The winner gets a couple's massage on me." Groans. Laughs. Cheers. I handed out cards with photos of landmarks. Most were real. An old twisted tree, a rock shaped like a heart. But the last one? That was a test. A photo of the same fire pit I'd found weeks earlier, taken from the drone's high angle, zoomed just enough to make it look scenic. I handed the card to Virginia and watched her face. She stared at it a beat too long. Blinked. Swallowed. "Where'd you get this picture?" she asked casually. "Kevin took it. Brought his drone." "You sure that's safe? Flying those out here?" I shrugged. "He's careful." She handed the card back. "Nice spot." "Oh, you recognize it?" That was the moment her pupils dilated. Just a flicker, but I saw it. She gave me a smile that would have fooled anyone else. "Looks like all the other clearings," she said, stuffing the card in her jacket. "Right." We set off in pairs. I made sure to lead Virginia's group straight toward the old campsite, the one I knew she'd be dying to avoid. Halfway there, she faked a headache. "I think I'll stay back," she said. "Maybe rest near the stream for a while." "Oh, no, you don't," I said sweetly. "Come on, babe. You're the expert here. If I'm going to start hiking more, I need your guidance." She hesitated, but the other couples were within earshot. She nodded. "Sure." 10 minutes later, we crested the ridge and stepped into the clearing. She froze. Everyone else marveled at the view, took selfies, commented on the fire pit. But Virginia? Her eyes were locked on the ground. The mug was still there. I made sure of it. "Someone left trash," she mumbled. "Looks like a pretty recent campsite," I said loudly. "Maybe from a few weeks ago." She said nothing. Then I pulled out my phone. "I want a group photo here," I said. "Everyone together." We lined up. I set the timer. Virginia stood stiffly at the end. I smiled wider than I had in years. Click. After the photo, I asked Kevin to get a few shots from above. He launched the drone. It buzzed up like a wasp with a camera and started circling. That's when I saw her whisper something to herself. It wasn't a prayer. It was a panic mantra. I walked over and handed her a laminated envelope. Her name was on it. "What's this?" she asked. "A surprise," I said. "Open it back at camp." We hiked back in silence. Everyone else was buzzing about the photo challenge, arguing over tree shapes and landmark clues. Virginia barely blinked. When we returned, I announced I had one more anniversary gift to share with the group. "A slideshow," I said. Everyone groaned. "Don't worry, just 5 pictures." Kevin hooked up the tablet to the portable projector. We draped a sheet between 2 trees. Campfire crackling. Evening shadows stretching long across the forest floor. Slide 1. Our wedding photo. "Oh," someone said. Slide 2. Us on our 5th anniversary in Mexico. More smiles. Slide 3. A photo of the fire pit. Drone shot. Time stamped. Clear as day. Virginia shifted. Slide 4. Same photo. Zoomed in. You could see her kneeling. Him standing. Slide 5. That same compass tattoo, blown up. I didn't say a word. Virginia stood up so fast her camping chair flipped. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Just air. Someone gasped. Then, from the dark beyond the campfire, came a voice. "Hey, Ginny." Everyone turned. The man stepped into the light. Younger. Taller than me. Same flannel. Same smirk. "Long time no see," he said. Virginia dropped the envelope. And inside, a divorce agreement. Pre-signed by me. And a printed copy of the drone photos. She didn't pick it up. She couldn't move. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. Revenge? Served. But the twist? That was still coming. Let me tell you something about silence. It isn't peaceful. Not always. That night, the woods were too quiet. Not a single owl. Not a whisper of wind. Just that heavy, awful stillness, like nature itself was holding its breath. And in the center of it all stood Virginia, paralyzed between the firelight and the shadow that was her past. Her stepbrother, let's call him Mason, stood just close enough for everyone to see the resemblance in their eyes. Hers wide and trembling, his sharp and smug. The same compass tattoo peeking from beneath the edge of his collar. The one she claimed she'd never see again. He didn't smile. Not exactly. Just that little half-grin some men wear when they think they've already won. "You didn't think I'd miss our anniversary, did you?" he said. A few people laughed, awkward, forced laughs, the kind people give when they haven't caught up to the punchline yet. Virginia's eyes darted around the circle, desperate for an escape. But I'd planned this too carefully. Every car was boxed in. Every flashlight and headlamp just a little too dim. And worst of all, nobody had any clue what the hell was going on. That made it even better. I stood, brushed off my jeans, and said, "I think Ginny's got some explaining to do." "Ginny." Mason chuckled, stepping into the firelight. "You still call her that?" Virginia's voice finally cracked free. "What are you doing here?" "You invited me," I said casually, lifting my water bottle in a mock toast. "Well, not directly. But I figured, if we're celebrating 15 years of loyalty, love, and sacred vows, we should at least include everyone who's been part of the journey." More silence. Someone coughed. The air hung thick between us. I could practically hear her pulse pounding from across the fire. She whispered, "Can we talk alone?" "Nope," I said. "That's the thing about secrets, sweetheart. They live best in the dark. But once you drag them out here into the fire, they stop looking so pretty, don't they?" She turned to our friends, her voice rising. This is not what you think. Please, I cut in. Don't insult their intelligence. Or mine. Mason chimed in. Look, I don't want to cause drama. I just thought it was time to stop pretending. Someone muttered under their breath. Pretending what? Virginia opened her mouth, then closed it again. The truth? She wasn't built for this kind of exposure. Her lies had always been neat, curated things. Private, whispered, hidden in calendars, under false names, behind locked devices. But this was raw, unfiltered, uncontrolled. Exactly what she couldn't handle. And I wasn't done. Do you want to tell them? Or should I? I asked, stepping closer to the screen where the photos had lingered far too long. I tapped the tablet and brought up one more image, just for her. It wasn't a photo. It was a scanned letter. From her father. Backdated. Typed. Signed. Explaining how, 15 years ago, he'd paid Mason, and later paid Virginia, to end the relationship. You told me he was toxic. Dangerous, I said softly, letting the words sink in. That he manipulated you. That you cut him out for your mental health. Her hands were trembling now. You didn't cut him out. You cut a deal. Mason snorted. Don't blame her too hard, man. Your father-in-law wanted her to marry up. You were the safe bet. Good job. House, no police record. You were the retirement plan. You shut your mouth, she hissed at him. He raised his hands mockingly. Sorry, Ginny. Guess I never got used to being a dirty little secret. I turned back to our audience, no longer just friends. Now they were witnesses. You know what's funny? I said, looking at each one of them. I was going to confront her quietly. Divorce. Therapy. Move on. But then I remembered, this isn't just betrayal. It's architecture. 15 years built on a lie. That's not just infidelity. That's fraud. Virginia whispered. You planned all this. From the moment I saw that scar on your hip, I nodded. Oh, and by the way, I know what really caused it. That scar's not from a fall. It's from a burn. A brand. Her face froze. Mason looked away. That was your idea, wasn't it? I asked him. Some twisted camping ritual? To seal the deal? Nobody answered. I didn't need them to. That was the final puzzle piece. And now everyone saw it. The college girls' trip? Fake. The old tent. Never used. The second tent? A love nest with zippers and lies. And the scar? A mark of ownership. Proof she'd never really let him go. Not even after her father paid to bury the past. I don't care what you think you had, I told her coldly. But I'll tell you what you've lost. She looked up, eyes wide. Me, I said. And any shred of the life we built together. Then I turned to our friends. The divorce paperwork is in motion. This trip was for closure. For me. For her. For him. Someone asked, motioning to Mason. I smiled. Oh, Mason's not going anywhere. Are you, Mason? He hesitated. Depends. On. Whether she wants to stay. Virginia flinched like he'd slapped her. Stay, she whispered. You think I want that? You branded yourself for it. I said. Seems like commitment to me. She opened her mouth, but again, nothing came out. Just a gust of cold mountain air. I walked back to my tent without another word. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to scream. I'd already won. Behind me, I heard chairs scraping, voices murmuring, someone hissing something about calling an Uber from the trailhead. It didn't matter. My work was done. Well, almost. There was one more surprise I'd packed. Because I knew Virginia wouldn't leave with him. Not really. And I knew Mason couldn't resist staying just long enough to gloat. So, before the trip, I'd sent one anonymous envelope. To Mason's current girlfriend. With copies of every drone photo. And a link to a private livestream. Because nothing makes a cheater squirm harder than being exposed twice in one night. Revenge? It's not just sweet. It's layered. And I hadn't even served dessert yet. They say silence is golden. I say it's just the prelude to paperwork. After that night in the woods, the fire, the photo, the stepbrother-shaped grenade, I dropped into our little circle of trust. Things moved fast. Faster than I expected, honestly. You'd think Virginia would have begged, cried, exploded. Maybe even tried to gaslight me into believing I imagined it all. But no, she just shut down. Like a robot whose software hit a fatal error. A blank screen in a sundress. By morning, she was packing her things into the SUV with the same numb efficiency she used to fold laundry. No eye contact. No apology. Just the sound of zippers and a trunk slamming shut. Most of our friends, if you can still call them that, had already left by dawn. Something about early meetings or emotional exhaustion or needing space to process. Translation: nobody wanted to be collateral damage in our emotional nuclear blast. Can't blame them. Well, maybe a little. I stayed behind, cleaned up camp, rolled my sleeping bag like a man who just burned down a house and was sweeping the ashes. Methodical, calm, satisfied, until I found the mug. You remember the best stepbro ever won? It wasn't where I left it. Someone had moved it. Not far, just a few feet from the fire pit. But it was shattered now, cracked down the middle like a heart-shaped cliché. And inside the largest shard was something I hadn't seen before. A flash drive. Tiny, black, scratched up like it had been through hell. I turned it over in my hand, debating. Curiosity whispered, plug it in. Instinct screamed, don't. Guess which one I listened to? When I got home, I booted up my old laptop, not the one synced to our home network, just in case this little trinket came with a virus or a keylogger or some other fun surprise. I plugged it in. 3 folders, labeled Spring, Summer, and Final. No passwords, no encryption, just videos. Dozens of them. Not movies, not TV shows. Recordings. From the woods. At first, I thought it was just nature footage. Trees, birds, a squirrel on meth. But then the camera shifted, and there they were, Virginia and Mason. In hammocks, in sleeping bags, in ways I can't and won't describe. They weren't just fooling around. They were documenting it, like some sick camping scrapbook. One video caught my attention more than the others. It was titled, The Brand. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. It showed Mason heating a piece of bent metal over a campfire. Virginia lying on a blanket, biting a stick like she was in some twisted Civil War reenactment. When he pressed the metal to her skin, she screamed, muffled, but unmistakable. He said, "Now you'll never forget who you belong to." She whispered, "I never did." I closed the laptop, walked to the sink, and threw up. You'd think after everything, the lies, the fake retreats, the stepbrother crap, I'd be numb. But no, that video cracked something open in me I didn't know was still fragile. Not because of what they did, because of what it meant. She hadn't just cheated on me. She'd belonged to someone else the whole time. Our marriage? A placeholder. A cover story. I wasn't the husband. I was the decoy. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the garage with the flash drive in one hand and a lighter in the other, trying to decide whether to burn it or make copies. Guess what I chose? Let's just say there are now 4 encrypted copies of that drive, each in a different location. Safety deposit box, cloud storage, trusted friend, and one in a fireproof safe under the floorboards. Not because I plan to blackmail her. No, because leverage isn't about using the weapon. It's about them knowing you have it. Now here's where it gets interesting. 3 days after the trip, I get a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Urgently. M." I ignored it. The next day, "It's about her. She's lying to you again." Still ignored it. But the third text? That one got me. "She's pregnant. And it's not yours." I stared at my screen so long it dimmed. Then I called him. Mason answered like he'd been waiting all day. "Took you long enough." "You're lying," I said. "I have proof." "Send it." A pause. Then, "Meet me instead." "No." He sighed. "Then I'll send it to your parents. Or maybe your boss. Would hate for this to get messy." Click. I blocked the number. But the damage was done. The idea had been planted. Pregnant? We hadn't touched each other in months. Hell, I'm not even sure the last time we tried wasn't more pity than passion. And suddenly she's carrying a baby? I confronted her the next morning. Calm. Precise. Lawyer mode. "Are you pregnant?" She blinked like I'd asked her if she'd joined a cult. "No," she said flatly. "Sure. Yes." "Then why did Mason say you were?" Her eyes darkened. "Because he's manipulating you." "Was he manipulating you when he burned his initials into your skin?" She flinched. "You watched the videos." "I watched enough." She sat down. Hard. Like her knees stopped working. "I'm not pregnant," she whispered. "I swear." "Good. Because if I was," she added, "it wouldn't be his." I tilted my head. "Oh, then whose would it be?" Silence. That's when I saw it. The hesitation. The flicker. The buried truth. It wasn't Mason's. It wasn't mine. It was someone else. And she didn't want to say who. That was worse. So much worse. I stood, grabbed my keys, and left. Not forever. Not yet. I had one more visit to make. You see, I remembered something from the flash drive metadata. A small tag in the video file info. Recorded by M. Henderson. Mason's last name isn't Henderson, but her OBGYN's is. And just like that, the final layer of this rotten onion started to peel. There's a strange kind of calm that sets in when you realize your entire marriage has been one long, expensive cover-up. Like watching your house burn down from the lawn chair you forgot to fold up after a barbecue. You just sit there and sip your lemonade while everything you built goes up in smoke. I drove across town in silence. No music, no podcasts, just my tires humming over asphalt and the occasional thud of a pothole. Reminders that even the road under you can betray you if you're not paying attention. Dr. Henderson's office looked exactly the way it had during our second miscarriage. Clean, bright, cheerful enough to make you want to punch someone. I didn't have an appointment. Didn't need one. When the receptionist asked if I was there for Virginia, I just smiled and said, "No, I'm here for the truth." That got me a weird look. Then a security escort. But just before they could frog march me to the sidewalk, someone stepped out of the hallway behind the reception desk. Mr. Carter? Dr. Henderson himself. He looked older than I remembered. Grayer. Tired. But he still had the same nervous smile. The same hand-tent thing he always did when talking about sensitive issues. "Do you have a minute?" I asked. He hesitated, then nodded. We went into a private room. No ultrasound machines. No blood pressure cuffs. Just a faux wood desk and 2 chairs that squeaked if you breathed too hard. "Is this about Virginia?" he asked gently. "You tell me." He folded his hands. "I can't share confidential." "I'm not asking you to," I interrupted. "I just need to know if you're the one who filmed those videos." He froze. And that's when I knew. He wasn't shocked that there were videos. He was shocked I'd seen them. "You recognize the name tag on the file?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "She told me it was just a fetish," he whispered. "Something from college." I didn't know she was still. "Still what?" I asked, tilting my head. He looked like a man standing on the edge of a confession cliff, debating the jump. "I didn't know she was seeing him again," he finally said. "I thought it ended years ago. I thought she chose you." "Chose me." I laughed. "That's rich." He leaned forward, voice low. "Do you think you're the only husband she's ever had?" That shut me up. "She's been married before," he continued. "Twice, actually. Briefly. Both annulled. One of them was Mason." I blinked. Mason was her husband? Technically, yes. For 11 months. When she was 20. They kept it secret from her family. He was her stepbrother first, then her lover, then her husband, then her abuser. "And you knew all this?" "I treated her for PTSD. And for a miscarriage that wasn't yours." Silence. I didn't breathe. "She told me she left him," he said. "That you were different. That you were safe." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "So I was the rehab center." "Got it." He looked down. "I'm sorry." I stood. "You should be." As I left the office, I felt something shift in me. Something permanent. I used to want revenge. Cold, public, humiliating revenge. But now I wanted erasure. I wanted to take back every dinner, every birthday, every shared inside joke, and burn it down like a faulty tent in the rain. She wasn't just a cheater. She was a serial manipulator. A shapeshifter. A woman who wore husbands like outfits. Changed them out when the season changed. When I got home, the house was empty. Her car was gone. Half the closet, too. She didn't even leave a note. Just one text, sent 30 minutes before I walked in. I think we both knew this was coming. And that was it. "No, sorry. No, we need to talk." Just a resignation letter for our entire life. Fine. Two can play that game. The next few weeks were what you'd expect. Lawyers, paperwork, frozen accounts, and a few awkward phone calls from mutual friends who had no idea anything was going on. Even though they were probably the same ones laughing around the campfire, while Mason stuck hot iron to her hip. I didn't answer most of the calls. Except one. Her mother. A woman I hadn't heard from in years. She called on a Thursday. Voice trembling. "She's gone," she said. My heart jumped. "Gone. Not dead," she clarified. "Just vanished. Took her passport. Left a note saying not to look for her." I sat down on the couch. Did she say where? No. But she withdrew everything from her savings. Even the emergency fund. She always said she wanted to go back to Spain. I muttered. Her mother was crying now. "I'm sorry. I should have warned you. I thought she was better." I didn't respond. What was there to say? She wasn't better. She was just better at hiding. Later that night, I poured myself a drink and pulled out the flash drive one more time. I stared at it like it was a cursed object. Because it was. Proof of betrayal. Proof of sickness. Proof that some people don't just lie, they rewrite reality. And then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I uploaded one of the videos. Not all of them. Just one. The one with the branding. And I sent it to one person. Mason's current girlfriend. Yes, he had one. I found her on Instagram 2 days after the trip. Her name was Serena. She posted soft focus selfies and daily inspirational quotes like live, laugh, love, and real queens fix each other's crowns. I figured she deserved to know what kind of king she was dealing with. No message, no caption, just the video. She blocked me within the hour. But not before I saw her story go dark. And Mason's account? Deleted the next day. I don't know what happened. Don't care. I'm not in the business of cleanup. Just exposure. Virginia hasn't contacted me since. Last I heard, she booked a one-way ticket to Valencia. Good. Let her haunt a new continent. I've started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. No camping. No step-siblings. No lies. And every now and then, I think about that last night in the woods. The fire. The friends. The photo. And the way she looked at me when she realized the tent wasn't the only thing I'd unzipped. Not bad for a guy who hated the outdoors. 1 year later, I stood in line at the DMV, of all places, renewing my license when I saw her again. Not in person. On a poster. A cheaply laminated, sun-faded missing persons flyer tacked onto the side of a corkboard behind the organ donor forms. Smack between a lost cat and a free CPR class. Virginia Carter. Well, Virginia Taylor on the poster. Her maiden name. My wife. Correction, my ex-wife. Listed as voluntarily missing. Voluntarily. That word stuck with me. That was the part that made it legal, I guess. No foul play. No body. Just vanished by choice. You can't rescue someone who doesn't want to be found. But still, there she was. Smiling in a photo that must have been at least 5 years old. Pre-scar. Pre-lie. Pre-me figuring out the scar was the lie. The woman in that picture? She looked harmless. Almost kind. I ripped the flyer down. Not out of anger. More like impulse. Like seeing a ghost hanging in public and needing to put it back in the ground where it belonged. The clerk called my name. Mr. Carter? Yeah. Address still the same? No. I gave her the new one. Apartment, 3rd floor, no fireplace, no shared garage, no tents. She typed and didn't look up. Marital status? I paused, then smiled. Free. She chuckled like I was joking. I wasn't. And that was the last time Virginia Carter ever interfered with my life. Or so I thought. Because 3 weeks later, I got a package. No return address. No stamps. Just a padded manila envelope tucked into my mailbox like a threat in soft clothing. I opened it on the counter. Inside, a key. And a note. One line, scrawled in handwriting that made my stomach flip. It's in the box. That was it. No name. No explanation. But I knew. Of course I knew. The box was in the attic of our old house, now long sold. But the box she meant, that was her box. She used to keep it locked. Said it was old letters, journals, dumb stuff. I'd never opened it. Never had the key. Until now. I stared at it for 5 minutes before I moved. Drove to the storage unit I kept for leftover junk that didn't fit in my apartment. And there it was. Her box. I opened it. Photos. Letters. Notes in languages I didn't recognize. But tucked under a stack of old receipts. A second flash drive. My hands were shaking before I even inserted it into my laptop. One file. One video. Titled, Apology. I clicked play. And there she was. Virginia. Sitting cross-legged in a tent. Probably the same one from the trip. The lighting was dim, the shadows dancing across her face. Her hair looked longer. More undone. Her face. No makeup, no polish, just raw. She looked straight at the camera. And started talking. Not crying. Just talking. Like she was narrating a bedtime story she knew I'd never finish. I know you found out. I know you saw us. I know what I did. But you don't know why. I rolled my eyes. Always with the why. She kept going. Mason wasn't just my stepbrother. Or my first husband. Or my mistake. He was my first everything. First kiss. First betrayal. First person who taught me that love and pain can wear the same face. She inhaled sharply. I told you I cut him off. I didn't. I couldn't. I tried. But every time life got too normal, too stable, too safe, I called him. I wanted chaos. Wanted to feel something real. I paused the video. Got up. Poured a drink. Then came back and hit play. You were good to me. Too good. And I hated you for it. You didn't deserve that, but I didn't deserve you either. I needed to wreck something beautiful. I always do. She leaned in. If you're watching this, I'm already gone. I left the country, changed my name, burned everything else. But I wanted you to know you weren't crazy. You saw me, really saw me. And I hated that, too. She held up a necklace. The bracelet I once thought she never took off? It was originally a necklace. T+M. She kissed it, then tossed it in the fire beside her. The screen flared white, then black. End of file. No music, no cuts, no fancy closure. Just truth. Ugly, scorched earth truth. I sat there for a long time. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just breathed. She was gone. I had my answers. No more ghosts. No more questions. I deleted the file. Not out of mercy, out of peace. She wanted me to carry her chaos like a torch. I let it burn out. 3 months later, I got an email from Serena, Mason's ex. Subject line: thank you. No message. Just one photo attached. Mason, in a hospital bed. Neck brace. Cast. Bandaged hand. Caption on the image: jumped off a balcony drunk. Idiot lived. I smiled. Maybe karma's not real. But sometimes, the universe does take out the trash. I hit delete. Didn't even reply. Because here's the thing about survival. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's the man who unpacks his own tent for the first time and realizes he never needed her in it. It's the silence that follows the storm, where the only thing left standing is the guy who saw it coming and packed an umbrella. Not for her. For him. So when people ask me why I hate camping, I don't say a word. Just smile. Because once upon a time, I hiked through hell and made it out on the other side. Alone, but whole. Subscribe to the channel